Hello, hello. Thanks for joining us today. We have Rhythm in the station with us.
Boo, 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 boo.
Hi, Rhythm. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Rhythm. No, okay. So my name is Rhythm. I'm from North Carolina. I consider myself a Renaissance man, even though that's a little pretentious to say. I do a bunch of different creative stuff. I rap. I do vocals for some hardcore projects. I do photography. I do stand up. I do a bunch of stuff.
So you said that you're pretty multidisciplinary. You're a Renaissance man. What's your history been like in regards to just living as an artist? What are the things that you've done?
So the journey's pretty long. It would take hours to explain all the plot points, but the moment that I knew I wanted to be the type of artist I am is I remember being like 7 years old, and one of my aunts was telling me a story about, I guess, a grand uncle that I have, and they were like, oh yeah, he played like 12 instruments, he spoke like 6 languages, he owned a bunch of exotic animals, he could front flip over a car, just like all this random stuff. And I was like, I want to be that guy. That's who I want to be. Want to be like a myth almost. Like, people don't believe it's real when they hear about me. So I got a whole life ahead of me of creating stories. But I started playing music when I was 12 on the violin, was actually my first instrument. And then I tried guitar. My hands were too small. So then I picked up drums at 14. And everything has just like spanned out since then. But I started with metal mostly.
Sure.
I was pretty pretentious as a kid. I was like, all that soft stuff is fucking lame, bro.
I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier that you work with a nonprofit called Aim for the Heart. Can you tell us a bit about that? Like, what's the mission and what have you done within the nonprofit?
So Aim for the Heart is an organization that was founded by Layla Steinberg. Most people know her for being Tupac's first manager, but she's done a lot. She manages Earl Sweatshirt. She managed Mac Mall, just like a load of West Coast artists. And she started this organization in the 80s, kind of simultaneously. I think the organization might have come a little afterwards, but it was centered around something called mic sessions, where artists would get together based on a prompt, which could be anything from integrity to heart to laughter, separation, whatever the prompt is for that week. And then everybody comes back together with the pieces that they've written on topic, talk about the topic, present their pieces, give critique and feedback. And that evolved into Aim for the Heart, which is a nonprofit organization where our curriculum is that we teach people emotional literacy through the arts, which is basically just teaching people how to deal with their traumas through an art medium, or any medium really, and just learning to be an emotionally literate person. So we take that anywhere from like schools, anywhere from like 3rd, 4th grade up until high school, colleges, corporations, sometimes prisons. We do a lot of like restorative justice work in the space. And yeah, we just, anytime somebody wants us to come do the workshop, we come and do the workshop. So
That's cool. I love when artists are actually involved in their community and are giving back to the spaces that they've come from.
yeah, because I'm not going to say I don't believe in, but you're not going to catch me marching for anything, because I'm not about to stand in a crowd full of white liberals in ski masks and get maced. That's not, I can
There
do
are
other
other
stuff.
ways
Exactly.
to help the movement. So I see that, you've been doing photography. You just won an award for the exhibit at your school. And you've also worked on the tour with Fauna Hughes. What has it been like being in the industry, both as a musician and as a photographer, and all the other ways in which that you've, had a role in the music scene?
It all sucks unless you really want to do it. And even then, it still sucks unless somebody's willing to just like give you a job. Because I mean, in most of the entertainment industry, more often than not, you're spending a lot of years doing freelance work. And on the Fauna tour, my main job was to be like a road manager. So I did take some pictures, but most of it was just me driving and selling merch. And like other photography stuff, I got a friend named Louis King who has a company called Eye Management that we've shot some crazy celebrities together. We've shot Too Short, Be Real from Cypress Hill, Iman Shumpert from the NBA, all type of stuff. It's just like super random. Like we've been able to meet like a crazy amount of people. Even Lou, like the person that I'm saying worked with this on me. Like both of us are the kind of person who just like does like do everything. Like how I just road managed for Fauna, but like Louis King is his artist name. He tour managed for Earl for like 3 tours. Like got me in for free to a show or two, like got me passes, and that was really nice. But honestly, what it's like juggling all the stuff I do is like, for real, you have to want to do it, because I spent a lot of years getting paid either nothing or way less than I should have. Like, I'm debating whether I should even tell this story or not. I can tell this story because it wasn't this celebrity's fault. So one time I shot a skit for Michael Blackson. I don't know if you know who that is. He's like a famous comedic actor, and he asked me and like a team that I was working with to make a skit for him when like the Jussie Smollett stuff happened. Skit came out great. Did huge numbers. Most numbers I've ever got on anything. Got like 4 followers from it. And the person who was the team that hired me to be the cinematographer for that day, I ended up doing the cinematography, editing it, helping direct it, and brainstorm ideas for the sketch itself. Got it done, edited, sent back to them before I left his house. And all I asked for was $150. And the fight that I had to have for like 3 weeks with this person that hired me to get the other half of my money was just like so painful, which is why now I charge a little more and I'm not leaving the house without a deposit. So it's just a lot of, you got to take yourself professionally, value yourself at what you're worth, not what other people think you're worth, because people will always lowball you. There have been very few jobs that I've worked that I got paid what I deserved. And over 15 years of making music, the only jobs I've been paid what I deserved for happened in the last 2 years. Everything else was just like, aside from shooting like family portraits for my homie Joel, and his family was like, no, we're going to pay you like a few $100. And I was like, all right, cool. That's what I want.
So it's definitely a privilege to be able to like work in that scene and also, you know, not be unhoused. Because I feel like for a lot of people, you know, we can't really have the opportunity to like only do freelance work and have the time to like be flexible with how the music scene is. So yeah.
For a long time, I was unhoused. And then for an even longer time, like I'm just recently getting to a spot where I don't have to work a day job. And this is what I worked so hard for all those years. Like before, I was like juggling freelance work with the occasional day job, or working at like a trap shop that sells weed, or doing Uber Eats. And all that sucks. I don't want to do any of that. It's like I saw an interview of an artist I really liked the other day, where they're like what do you want to do, and what do you want to be doing in 10 years? Nothing. I don't want to have to do anything. I want to do what I want. Like, of course I'll be making music, I'll be making art, but I don't want to have to do anything.
I don't dream of labor.
No.
What would you say are some of your influences, like artistically?
Honestly, probably my biggest influence from a young age was cartoons. Like I'm a huge Looney Tunes and Animaniacs fan. So like Bugs Bunny and Wacko, which doesn't really apply to most of the things I do, but to me it does. Earl Sweatshirt, MF Doom, but even like Lil Wayne, even like little rappers that are like just make fun songs. Like I'm a Yachty fan. As far as like hardcore goes, Ceremony, Backtrack, Have Heart, Fishbone. Shout out to homie Fish. Somebody put me on the corridos like 3-4 years ago when I was working at like a trap shop that sold weed.
Mm-hmm.
It's like my new favorite genre that I didn't know about, because we don't have that where I'm from.
Mm-hmm.
It's like very West Coast. Not a fan of
What's it
country.
like where you're from?
It's sad. People dream so small. That's the best way I can put it. Like, people just dream so small where I'm from, but I almost envy that because I don't know what it's like. Like, I wish so bad that I could feel satisfied working at Domino's for the next 20 years and then eventually buying a house and just chilling at home with my friends I wish that was enough for me because that's so much easier to accomplish. Like, I wish that my desires were easier to accomplish so that I wasn't like holding myself to such a high standard. But that's what it's like out there. You got a lot of people who just, I'm gonna be a mechanic, or I'm just gonna join the military, or there's very few people who dream of like putting something new into the world that isn't there already.
Is that like part of why you moved to LA?
Initially, no. Because if I'm being honest, even though the scene where I'm from is small, Fayetteville, North Carolina, there's still a huge amount of talent there that's just like untapped because there's no opportunity there. And a lot of them are never going to leave, which puts them in a spot where 9.9 times out of 10, no one's going to see you. And you're going to be 50 years old and people are going to be like, what did you do with all your talent? I stayed in Fayetteville. You were great. Your work itself is great. But a lot of people just like don't do what they would need to do with it to take it to a higher level.
Now that we're talking about North Carolina, how is it being in a cross-coastal band and trying to put together stuff for Hyde?
It would be difficult if me and my buddy Jose, who make up the band, at least the writing portion of it, if both of us didn't have our hands in a bunch of different things. Like, if it was our one main thing, it would suck. But like, he's in other bands, he records bands, he's got a home studio, he works front of house for a few different venues whenever he can get those gigs. I'm starting another hardcore project out here, but for me, Hyde is just so satisfying because I got to make a project I really wanted to do with my best friend for a long time. Like, we hadn't made music together for like 10 years since I had moved out here, and then the pandemic happened and I went out there, helped him set up his home studio, and he was like, all right, let's write some songs. And then we made the first Hyde EP in like 2 days. So it's been nice.
I saw that you posted on TikTok a little bit of Hyde's music and just talking about how the punk scene is dominated by white men and just the sentiments around feeling excluded in the scene. How did it feel to, have it go viral and like have such a supportive, reception to that?
I'm to a spot where I'm like done being humble, so I will say out loud, it's what it deserved. The algorithm just happened to be kind to me that day, and it like kind of blew up. And it wasn't just the fact that it blew up, it was that it reached its intended audience. Like, it was young, alternative kids of color commenting on it like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy to see this. And that's who we make it for. So that was really nice. And then on top of that, there were like random famous people who liked it that I was like, wait, what the fuck is going on? Like, I think me and you might have had this conversation at one point. Do you know Madeline Pendleton by name? She runs Shop Tunnel Vision.
Oh,
she
okay.
liked it. I was like, how did this end up on her For You page? But like,
but you also had someone reach out about doing a music video, right?
Yeah, I'm not gonna say too much about that one, but yeah.
Oops, sorry.
There is somebody who reached out to do a music video, and all I will say is I thought they were like the average, like, I'm editing an iMovie ass like director, but I got some pretty big work, so I'm excited for that.
So tell me a little bit about your comedy career and your experience with stand-up.
Stand-up's one of my first loves. Like, it's something that I'm really a nerd about, and it's just fun for me. Like, it's very much an outlet, and I think more than any other medium that I participate in, I don't judge myself doing stand-up. Like, I don't feel pressured to have the best set, and that usually lands well with the audience. But what's funny is recently, maybe like 2-3 weeks ago, for the first time ever, I bombed. Great. Didn't hurt me too bad, but it was in a situation where It was during a music show / at a bar, and it wasn't even like it was the band show, but they're like a house band at a venue. Like they just play, I don't want to say background music because to me that minimizes how talented the band is, but it's not
It's
like
ambient music.
Kinda, yeah. Like people are drinking, having a good time, dancing, going back and forth between their conversations the whole night. So it was a little difficult to like capture the room as opposed to like actually doing a comedy set at a comedy venue where the second you come on, everybody's immediately dialed into you and it's in your hands to drop or not. That was my first time feeling the pressure of like, oh, I've got to get the crowd to even pay attention to my jokes before they decide whether I'm funny. And it did not work. It did not work. It did not go over well. There was a guy at one point who was like, where are the jokes? I was like, you're only paying attention to me because you're not here with someone you want to have sex with, so leave me alone. And I thought that shit was hilarious. And so did like 3
Wait,
or 4
you
more
said that
people.
out loud?
Yeah, I said that out loud into the microphone, looking in his face. I was like, stop worrying about me. Get you some bitches, nigga. And a few of us laughed, but he was like, but I know that shit hurt his feelings and he went home thinking about it. So a win is a win.
A win is a win. What are some of your favorite music venues?
You ever heard of Mrs. Fish?
Mrs. Fish? No.
It's near the Standard downtown,
Mm-hmm.
but you go underground and you come in through like an aquarium almost.
Oh, shit.
And the like architecture layout of the venue itself is really nice. Like essentially it's 2 floors, but the 2-floor setup is just like, imagine that this couch was like the center of the room. This is where the 2nd floor is, and the 1st floor is down on the ground. So there's like a middle part between the 2 floors in the center of the venue that they use as a stage. That was sick. And they let us do a 2-part set. This is like almost like 8 years ago I played this venue. They paid us like $500, gave us like food and drink tickets.
Damn.
As like a random band from the Valley. I was like, this is fly. Like, I like that spot. The region is cool. I'm trying to think of smaller places that people don't know. There's a place called Casey's in the Valley that's like this cool jazz club. I don't think they even do shows, but there's like a jazz band that performs and they're really cool. I like Sassafras Saloon.
Where is this saloon?
It's near Harvard and Stone.
Mm.
It's in Hollywood. Where else? I like 7 Grand downtown. There's this chilled vodka bar. Like the whole bar itself is chilled. I forget the name though. But most venues, actually, I really do like the Roxy, as corny as it is. They do this thing when you perform where, because you know, if you've ever been to the Roxy, you know they open the curtains when the band starts.
Mm-hmm.
When you're on stage, they talk to you through the monitor before you start. They're like, welcome to, it's like you're like the pilot on the plane is like, welcome to the Roxy. Have a great set. Let us know if you need anything. And have a good show. And then the curtains open and you're like, nice.
That's cool.
It's like a core memory for me because that was the first time I got high and did a show. I like smoked weed and like was like going to try and perform for the first time. And I was so scared. And then the second those curtains opened, I felt like I was in my own little like spaceship. I had a great time.
I'm glad it went well. Last question. What are some records you're listening to right now?
Lemon Twigs. Lemon Twigs just dropped a record called Everything Harmony. Really good. I've always been a big fan of theirs since they dropped their first stuff in like 2016. Drain just dropped a new record. That's a great like hardcore thrash band. Like their level of like musicianship is crazy. Incendiary is a band from New York. They just dropped a hardcore record. And those are like the new ones in rotation, but that's pretty much it.
Anything else you want to close off with?
Stay hungry.
All right.
But also eat.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Bye.